Here's an update on ThreeI Atlas, some of the newest images, the most recent ones that we have of the object, some personal people's images like this guy, Dobsonian Power. He got one of the best recent images, and we're not getting any real ones from NASA because of the government shutdown, not like they're ever giving really good information in any way, or what they're putting out is not controlled or has some sort of agenda like it has in the past. So we'll look at some of that, and Jeremy Corbell comes out and finally speaks on this object, as some of the hype, I think, surrounding this is kind of attributed to the fact that he gave the warning, or was saying that he was being told to warn of an alien invasion or a mothership or something coming slowly towards Earth, going to reach here in 2027. We'll look at some more of the connections as to why that happened. But first, let's take a look at this, the newest, one of the most recent images of ThreeI Atlas before it went behind the sun, which it currently is right now, and it will be closest to the sun on October 29th.
There's a picture that was just released, breaking news, just released from different astronomers that shows this. I will show you the source right away. I don't know what is it, this here. I have no idea. But this is the ThreeI Atlas.
This is on Dobsonian Power's YouTube page. He is an amateur astronomer, and he has got one of the most recent images that's gone around too. Here we see ThreeI Atlas today with his solar telescope. The only way to pinpoint so close to the sun right now, or where it's at exact to NASA coordinates, and he gives that. And that's where we got this image here. That's the object. And again, we're not getting real images right now from NASA because the government is shut down. What good timing, right? What a coincidence, some would say. Well, this is also interesting is how ThreeI Atlas is reacting to the sun as it gets so close to it right now. And there are some strange things happening with it. And some people are saying that it's causing reactions on the sun or causing more coronal mass ejections. Pretty interesting, possible. This is on Stefan Burns' YouTube channel. This was pretty interesting here.
For its perihelion, its closest approach to the sun on October 29th. So this interstellar object, as of this moment in time, is accelerating to its maximum speed. If it is any sort of unique, maybe alien or technological craft, and it wanted to do an orbital trajectory change, that is when we'd expect it to perform an over-Earth maneuver. I personally do not think that is likely. I don't think it's an alien craft or technology. I think it's a very unique interstellar object that's interacting with our solar system in energetic ways. We saw 3 big coronal mass ejections launch back to back directly to ThreeI Atlas. So it is short-circuiting the sun due to its close proximity, due to its large size. That is the bigger story here. And those sunspot groups, we don't know what's been happening with them. We had some large sunspots on the Earth-facing side, which are now the ones responsible on the far side that are blasting ThreeI Atlas with all this energy. If they rotate back to Earth facing, they could be quite large if they don't die out. And their alignment with Earth facing direct is going to be right around the supermoon, the biggest and brightest full moon of the year. So November 5th, November 6th is looking quite dynamic. And perhaps ThreeI Atlas is fueling the growth of those sunspots because we've seen 3 big coronal mass ejections from the far side now, and we may get that to continue. Here we have our CC.
So that is pretty interesting that at the exact same time this object is going right towards the sun, on that side of the sun, the backside of it, we're having these mass coronal ejections hitting the object. And as he said, the trajectory of this thing might change. That's what Avi Loeb has been warning about, that if this comes from around the sun, and any object that was being controlled by some sort of intelligence would use the gravitational pull from the sun to change its trajectory or to speed up. And if that's what we see when it comes on the other side of the sun, then that would mean that there's something even stranger going on with this object. That's why Avi Loeb said that if that does happen, hopefully you've taken your vacation before October 29th, because he thinks that it would cause stock markets to crash and the entire world to change, as this looks like more of an alien threat. And in regards to that, even though there is a government shutdown, somehow they have got together to build up or to actually enact their asteroid defense warning systems, more than one, I believe. And they're kind of just enacting this to watch this object, something that they haven't done with this object, at least in the past. Here's Avi Loeb talking about that.
Yesterday, the International Asteroid Warning organization network decided to have a campaign starting on November 27th until January 27th, where it will coordinate using all the assets we have on Earth and in space to get as much data as possible about this mysterious object. And, that would be a great blessing, irrespective of whether it's natural or technological. But if it happens to do a maneuver when it comes close to the sun, the way spacecraft do, using gravitational assist from the sun, that would definitely affect the markets, the financial markets, and politics on Earth.
Because they would say that it is an alien threat. That's the direction that all this is going, in my opinion. The alien deception associated with end times Bible prophecy makes a lot of sense for the world to fall under this delusion and the great lie, believing that there's these entities from other planets coming here. This is a spiritual deception, a spiritual manifestation. And it is, of course, obviously mainstream news now all the time, as we're seeing with just so many different things surrounding this. Even News Nation just posting this caught on camera top 5 UFO sightings from New York to Iraq, just showing how this is like a new common thing now. This is just mainstream news that there's things flying around in the sky and we don't know what they are. So here now, Jeremy Corbell has responded to the whole ThreeI Atlas thing. Again, it was very interesting that he posted on a documentary not too long ago. There's going to be news of a craft coming towards Earth. It's going to be here in 2027. And we'll look at kind of more where that was founded on and rooted in. And he says, people were leading him in that direction, intelligence agencies trying to use him to spread that false information, or at least that big lie. And here he is responding to that claim, because it kind of all happened very interesting. At the same time he said that, then not long after, we got this whole ThreeI Atlas thing. So here he's finally responded in relation to this object.
If it's okay, let's jump into that. Sure. Everybody's asking what my opinion is on the ThreeI Atlas, object coming to Earth. Now, I'm not an astronomer. I'm not a scientist, but why they're asking me is because I made a statement back in January saying that, hey, there's a lie coming. And of course, it's part of a show, and it was just but if you watch the whole show, you kind of understand what's going on. And I've made a ton of statements about why I would say something like that. I'm not hiding and just saying it. I've explained to people why multiple times, but people are asking about that. Now, I don't know anything about that particular comet. I read the same stuff as everybody else. The trend I'm realizing, our friend in the disclosure movement, Avi Loeb, he talks about these unique characteristics, and he's not wrong about that. But it is a consensus of one. I don't see a bunch of other astrophysicists and people working on this stuff really echoing that same sentiment. I do love his open-mindedness, and he knows far better than me, and he's investigating the unexplained, not explaining the uninvestigated. So I've got a lot of happiness and joy for the way that he's looking at this problem set. But I will stand firm in that I said in January, and I actually said it earlier, but it was I think it was played in January, that there was something coming, that people were going to try to convince the public at large that there was a spacecraft slowly moving to Earth. And that didn't come out of thin air. That wasn't just something I made up before I sat down. That came from years of people trying to impose upon me something to use my mouth, that there was this threat coming, that there's a 1970s document that I believe to be classified for sure. And, I don't have the ability to get that out to people, but it postulated this. So there were so many warning signs that this was going to happen. I finally said the quiet part out loud. Intelligence agents from multiple agencies, durationally, over years, would call me and slowly edge at me with this theory and this idea to try to get me to say it. And it felt so manipulative, I had to call it out. So that is specifically why I said it, because I felt that pressure over time. I know you've been told, oh, there are these hints of big things coming. Well, if it is, say it. If it is, then you have a duty to say it. But no one's standing up and raising their hand. So I do think it's absolute nonsense. I think that you're going to see, a comet that's, maybe unique by material, pass by the Earth, and life goes on. I'm pretty high confidence that that's what's going to happen. But again, I don't know. I'm not an astronomer or anything. I just know what intelligence agencies have tried to push on me.
And I do actually agree with that. I think it's interesting that we're starting to see more of these interstellar objects coming towards us. We're starting to notice these more, even though we've only had the capability for 10 years to really look at these things. But it's interesting that it's all happening at the same time, again, in my opinion, as we move towards the prophetic end times future that the Bible warns about, that the Bible says there'll be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, men's hearts failing them for the fear of the expectation of things coming on the earth. Jesus said that. And so I find it interesting that this is all happening at that time. There are strange things surrounding the ThreeI Atlas. There are anomalies. And when you compile them together, it does act in a strange way. I mean, it is weird that when it gets closest to the sun, we can't see it. The way, just how it's all lining up, it's had the anti-tail, At the same time, isn't it weird that our government is shut down and we aren't getting legitimate pictures or videos of this thing? And they're even taking pictures and videos of this, and then they're not releasing them for some reason. So there are some strange things surrounding this. It'll probably come and go. But the strangest thing that everybody's got their eye on really is if when it comes from around the sun, the trajectory changes, it speeds up or moves in a completely different direction, which again, on one of my last videos on this, there were some reports coming out of people saying that it looks like it has already changed course some, but we won't really know until after it passes the Earth or after it passes the sun in about a week or so. So there's interesting things, and we'll definitely watch it, but I don't think it's a phenomenon, or I don't think it's strange, as again, the Bible is warned there's going to be these strange things happening in the sky. Jesus tells us that there's going to be spiritual deceptions, and they take their place in the heavenly realms. Satan's the prince of the power of the air. That's why so many people have stopped alien abductions when they call on the name of Jesus. It all fits into the spiritual deception. And again, is that what this ThreeI Atlas object is? It might just be a sign of times when these types of things more are coming, but we'll get more information as that goes on, as all this kind of unfolds more and more. Now, again, we'll play this video here, and these clips were compiled by the vetted YouTube channel. He does a good job documenting this UFO disclosure phenomenon's going on. But this was from an ex-CIA agent, John Ramirez, saying that in 2027, there's going to be something coming towards the Earth. And again, why are these CIA guys whispering to Jeremy Corbell, or agency people saying warn about the alien threat in 2027? And then now here the CIA guys saying the same exact thing. And at the same time, now we're starting to see things in space moving towards Earth. It's just strange how this is all unfolding. So here's kind of the origins of how this whole 2027 alien thing, in correlation with Jeremy Corbell warning about it, how this thing kind of started.
There was like a mass landing. Would we just simply prepare for a conflict, or would we actually initiate something? You know, that's right. A scary thing.
Well, I think the dialogue we're having now in this country, even with the recent legislation that passed through the legislature and is on its way up to the president's desk, even with that, we're kind of preparing the U.S. population, at least, and by extension, the world population, into that reality that there is a presence here, and that we need to explain this presence. Because if they show up and we continue to do what we did before in previous decades, and they show up, there will be mass panic. But if you understand that these are real, and we have 5 years from 2022, or maybe now 4 years, if they come in 2027, for the U.S. government to prepare the people about what is up there. And in many ways, I think the word got out within the government that they're showing up in 2027, and we better be prepared. And if not, there's going to be a lot of explaining to do. And so I think that dialogue has happened within inside the government, in certain areas inside the government, that we need to prepare. And that's why in 2017, that set a clock of 10 years. And why Lou Elizondo earlier in this year said, just find a hobby for 5 years. And, it'll all be out in 5 years. And he said that this year. So that was 2027. Huh. And I would say I've heard 2027 in a kind of an official capacity I can't reveal. So I think I would say that people in the government are aware of something happening, and that there's limited time.
So that is strange, is that not? I mean, why are people in the CIA, why are people in the government making this whole statement? And again, John Ramirez, ex-CIA, is he still out there just being used as a mouthpiece by the CIA? Hard to not deny that that's probably the types of things that are going on. For sure, different agencies are going on podcasts with people and pushing forth narratives that they want the public to pay attention to, because a huge majority of the public doesn't even watch the mainstream news, and they're not conditioned by them anymore. So they're trying to infiltrate podcasts, which is exactly what we're seeing more and more. So why are they pushing this 2027 thing? Well, we'll see. I think obviously, like I mentioned, this does fit into a great deception that God tells us is coming, that many people will believe the lie. And I think it could very well be associated with this whole entities, aliens from other planets are here. And that would change everything. It would make the Bible not seem real. It would just change everything about our lives. And I think that is connected to the great lie. And just like the Bible says, people who reject that, if they did, they would face serious consequences, can't buy or sell. And the Revelation says that Christians who deny these systems that are set up in the future, or anybody who does, which would be Christians, would be beheaded for doing so. And it would make people would say, well, this is so obvious. You have to follow what these aliens are doing. They're bringing us this truth. They're bringing healing. They're doing all this stuff. And then, oh, you just want to choose to believe the Bible and not go along with it. And then people are just saying, just kill them. We don't even want them. So that fits in. I think this whole alien deception will continue to grow. Obviously, it's becoming mainstream. And it's interesting how this is all happening at the same time with this ThreeI Atlas. So we'll pay attention to this as it comes from around the sun. Most importantly, pray for discernment, follow the Bible, believe in Jesus Christ. If you do that, he will lead us into truth because he is the way, the truth, and the life. Thanks for watching. God bless.